Hello and welcome. This is Algorithmic, your instructor. In the last session, we have discussed about the loops. We have discussed about the various problem statements that can be solved using for and while loop. We have discussed everything regarding the loops, and also we have talked about the advanced statements or some special statements that can be used inside the loop, like break and continue statement that can actually alter the flow of execution of a particular loop. Now this time we are going to discuss about the Python collections or arrays. Now there are 4 different collections or arrays in Python: list, tuple, set and dictionaries. Now we can't say that these are equals to arrays as that of other programming languages. For example, in C language you will find some arrays and some array manipulation tricks. So I can't say that the list is equal to array, or tuple is equal to array, or sets is equal to array, or dictionary equals to array. So I can't put a clear-cut equation that whatever data structures that we are going to learn, they are exactly similar to array. But as like of array, as that of in C language, the array stores multiple values. List, tuple, set and dictionary can also hold multiple values. Now what do I mean by multiple values? For example, if you declare any variable in Python that can store a single value. For example, a is equal to 10. So if you declare variable a and if you assign some value, let's say 10 to that, its value will be 10. And on the very next line, if you change the value of a, so for example a equals to 15, at that time the previous value, which was 10, will be overwritten and that will be vanished. So this is what happens in case of normal variables which we declare in programming. Maybe that is the integer variable or floating point number or even a string variable can hold a single value at a time. But the list, tuple, set and dictionaries are called as Python collections or arrays, and they are capable of holding multiple values at a time, and we can access multiple values at a time. So if you talk about the list, is the collection which is ordered and changeable, allows duplicate members, and the tuple is also ordered and it is indexed, but it is not allowing to change any value inside the tuple. Whereas set is the collection which is unordered and indexed, and no duplicate members are allowed inside the set. And dictionary is a collection which is unordered, changeable and index, no duplicate members again inside the dictionary. So what do we mean by the ordered and changeable and allowing the duplicate members, and whether it is index? That we'll discuss. But let's talk about this thing, and I'll have a table in which I can give some properties of the Python collection. So here we have list, tuple, set and dictionary, and we are talking about different properties of these particular collections in Python. As far as the list is concerned, it is ordered, it is indexed, and it is changeable also, and it will allow the duplicate members. So by this word ordered, I means they follow a particular way or particular order of putting some data, and that's how they are having some index. For example, at index 0 some value is stored, at index 1 some value is stored. That we'll discuss in detail while doing the programming. But it index, it has every element inside the list has got some unique index, and that's how it is ordered. So it is having a particular order. For example, if I declare z is equals to a list of 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, so at z of 0 we'll find value 2 and so on. So it has a particular index, and at every index you will find some element is there and it has got some value. Changeable, what do we mean by changeable? So when I say a list is changeable, that means we can add extra element to it, even we can delete some element from the list, and we can even change a value of particular element from that particular list. Secondly, the duplicate elements are allowed inside the list. So what I mean by this duplicate elements, for example, a list can have two similar elements. For example, z is equal to 1 1 comma 2 comma 2 comma 3 comma 3. So here the 1 2 3 are repeating and they are duplicates. So these duplicate elements are allowed inside the list. That we'll discuss, and we'll study this while discussing this list in more detail. Similarly, in case of tuple, it is ordered index as that of the list, but it is not changeable and duplicate elements are still allowed inside the tuple. So if you compare list to the tuple, almost they are same, but there is only change that this is changeable and this is not the changeable. So when I talk about the set, it is completely unordered, so there is no fixed order of the elements, and as there is no fixed order, obviously there is no index. And secondly, I have written here changeable s, and I have this star. So meaning is that we can add extra elements into the set, even we can delete some elements from the set, but we can't change the value of particular element from the set. And again, the duplicate elements are not allowed inside the set. When I talk about the dictionary, it is again not ordered, it is unordered, and again it is having the index. That is the one of the important factor. As it is not having any particular order, how it can have the index? So just keep watching the videos. I'll show you how it has index. It's quite interesting in terms of the dictionary. It has some different mechanism to provide index, and it is changeable. You can change the elements from the dictionary. You can add extra element, and even you can delete some extra some elements from the dictionary. And again, duplicate elements are not allowed. So when I compare set and dictionary, they are quite identical. Almost they are having similar properties. There is only change is here that the set is not indexed and this is indexed. And secondly, both are changeable, as the set is not completely changeable, as some elements from the or some the value of element cannot be changed, but extra element can be added inside the set, and even we can delete some element from the set. But in case of dictionary, it is changeable and it is indexed, and again it is not ordered. That means there is no fixed order of elements. So at first position what element to put, it is not fixed, but this has to be fixed in case of list and tuple. And when I say index, that means every element will have some index, just like a string. If you refer the previous videos, like, or if you have understood the how we access the string, so for a particular string we have used indexing. So for z of 0 we have some character from that string, so that is nothing but indexing. So list and tuple will have such index, and in order to have some index, they must have some particular order. Every character or every element or every value inside the list or tuple should have a particular, should follow the particular order. So that's what we are going to discuss here. And coming back to this set and dictionary, there is no fixed order, so you can put random values randomly inside the set and dictionary. You need not to have a particular order of the elements, and still that will be a valid thing. But only difference between set and dictionary is that the dictionary is indexed, it has got some index, but the set doesn't have any kind of index. And second difference is the set is not completely changeable, though we can add some extra element and even we can delete some elements from the set, but we can't change the value of particular element inside the set. But that is not the case with dictionary. We can change the values from the dictionary. And again, the tuple and list are quite identical. They are this thing, they in terms of ordering they are same, in terms of indexing they follow each other, and even the duplicate elements are allowed in both the cases. But only change is that one is not changeable and other one is changeable. So we'll discuss this thing in more detail while doing the programming. So we'll actually start with our Python window or Python shell, and there we'll discuss the collections in Python. So I'll open the Python software. So as usual, as you know, I have to type here to open this software, as there is no shortcut key on the desktop. Now once the software is open, now let's start. And today I'm going to use only Python shell and not going to use the Python editor window, because I just have to do some lots of experimentation in while discussing this Python list. And what are the things that we are going to discuss? So I'll show you what we are going to do today in order to verify these properties of this list. So today we are going to discuss only on this list, and in upcoming sessions, maybe the next session, will dedicate for tuple, and after that set and dictionaries will be covered in separate sessions. So this is all about that we are going to discuss about this list. Now list is the collection data type in Python which can hold multiple values at a time. Now when I talk about multiple values, it can have more than one values, or even it can have a 0 values, or even it can have one value as well. But when I declare a particular variable as a list, it will have multiple values. It can store multiple number of values than one. Secondly, we'll discuss how we can access the element. So here we'll discuss the indexing and ordering of this particular list, and that will be the property number 1 and 2, that how the list is ordered and how it is indexed. Secondly, we talk about the changing the item value inside the list. So whether it's possible to change the extra or the particular item value or not, that we are going to discuss in change of item value term. And then we'll talk about how we can have a for loop looping over this list, how we can access individual element from this list from the loop. And secondly, we can have some searching kind of problem, whether a particular element is present inside the list or not. Finally, we can do some additional experiments, right? How we can find out the length of list, and this is how one of the important factor that defines the changeable property of the list. Whether we'll discuss whether we can add extra element inside the list, and whether it's possible to remove some element from the list. And if I have to copy a particular list in another variable, how I can copy that also we'll discuss. And if I have to join two different lists together to form a third list, so I'll also discuss that thing. So these are some 10 different aspects of list we are going to discuss, and with reference to these points we are going to understand the working of the Python list. So let's experiment using this Python shell. So up till now we have studied to declare some variables like a is equal to 10. Now this is the integer variable. We also studied like b is equal to, let's say, 2.5. Now this becomes floating point variable or fractional number. Again, it belongs to the numeric data structure of Python. If I write c equals to, let's say, hello in single or double commas, that is fine, and this becomes string kind of variable. Now as I have already declared a is equal to 10, and immediately after that I write here a equal to 15. Now what will be the current value of this a, whether it's going to hold this 10 or it's going to hold this 15, or it will have both the values 10 and 15. So the correct answer is it will have only the latest value. So if I print this thing, I'll get the latest value, which is 15, and not this previous value. So what happened to this previous value? Now this previous value is deleted from the memory, and it is no longer available. So when I declare such kind of variables, it can hold a single value only. And if you have to understand this with reference to the container or in terms of variable, so when I declare a variable, a single memory location is reserved in memory location, and initially I have stored value 10 in that memory location, and when I'll store 15 in that memory location, so the previous value is lost, and now we have the latest value or the new value inside that memory location. So that's how it can store a single value. Now many times in programming we need to store multiple values in a single variable. So in that case we can take help of Python collections. In other programming language mostly the term array is used. Now Python collections are similar to arrays, but there are 4 different collections, as I already discussed: list, tuple, set, and dictionary. So we'll discuss one after the another and one by one. So how list can work? If I declare a variable z equals to in the rectangular bracket or in the square bracket some number like 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, this becomes a list kind of variable. So if I hit enter here, and if you check the type of this variable, type of z, now you will get the clear-cut idea about this variable. Now here we go. Now this particular variable is of list type. So this is not the integer or not the floating point number or not even the string variable. It is the list variable. Now when I talk about list, it holds the multiple values and it can have even single value, or even the list can be empty even. But still, if something is written inside the square brackets or the rectangular brackets, that becomes list in Python. And if the same thing, if I try to do like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, now we'll say both the things are same. This z is equal to this thing and z is equal to this thing, both are same. But if you print the type of this thing, just try to print the type of z, now we'll get the clear-cut answer that it is not the list, it is tuple. So this kind of thing, only the difference is the brackets. This is square bracket and this is the rounded bracket. So if you declare something in rounded bracket, that becomes tuple, and if you declare something in this thing square bracket, that becomes list. Even if you declare like this in curly brackets, 1, 2, and if you hit enter and if you check the type of it, you will find some different type. This time this is of set type. Okay, so as far as the visual difference is concerned between these variables and whatever we have written over here, you can find that this is having the square brackets, this is having the rounded brackets, and this is having the curly brackets. So that's the only difference. And if you write using these brackets, it will change its type. So it is list, it is tuple, and it is set. So if you say that this stored the same data, again this is also going to change store the same data, and again this set is also storing the same data. But there are differences in terms of properties that we have just discussed. Now these are some properties, whether this ordered, index, changeable, and duplicate elements are allowed or not. So that's what we have to check. So I'll start from this property. So number one property that I'm going to check, that is whether they allow duplicate members or not. So let's do this. Now firstly, if I declare z equals to 1, 1, now 1, or even I can write 2, 2, and even 3, 3. Now this list stores integer numbers or integer values like 1, 2, 3, and this is duplicate elements. You can see here, now this 2 is repeated, and this 3 is also repeated, and even this 1 is repeated. So this is the collection having 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, these kind of numbers, and the numbers are repeated, they are duplicates. So as per the definition of list is concerned, it can allow the duplicate members. So it is allowed to have duplicate members inside this thing. So if I hit enter, there is no problem, and if I print this thing, you will get the values 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. So this is how we prove that the list can have duplicate members as well. And now the second parameter that we are going to check, whether it is ordered. Now what do we mean by order? So let's check. So if I declare list like this, 1, 2, 3, like this, and if I declare another list like this thing, 3, 2, 1. Now if you clearly understand this thing, or if you clearly observe these two things, A also stores 1, 2, 3, and B also stores 1, 2, 3, but their order is different. Now this is ordered in this fashion, and maybe in ascending order, or this is ordered in descending order, or even you can have say is equal to 2, 1, 3, or 2, 3, 1, something. Any order can be there, or different things. Now when I say the A or this particular list is ordered, that means it has to strictly follow a particular order. This kind of thing should not be allowed, or this should not be the valid thing in case of the list. So if I hit enter and if I check whether this thing A equals to B, and I just want to check whether this is true or false. If this is ordered, obviously this thing has to be false, because this order of this thing and order of this thing is totally different. And if it is not unordered, that means this thing will be true. Now this is how we'll check the one of the important property of list, that is the property number 1, that the list is ordered, and clearly we'll find this is false. That means this A and B are not equal. Though the elements inside the A and elements inside the B are same, both are identical, still A is not equal to B because their order is different. But this is not the case with set and dictionary. They are unordered. They are not ordered. That means if I declare the numbers inside the set and dictionary in different order or in different fashion or in different order, still both the variables will be equal. So that's the important aspects of this thing. Now the number one thing that we are going to discuss is the indexing inside this particular list. So let we declare one list variable 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. This is my list variable. Now I have to access a particular element from this list. So if I print z of 0, so this is how we are talking about the indexing and accessing the elements from this list. So we have discussed that how it is allowing the duplicate members, and secondly also we have discussed how it is ordered. Now if it is ordered, now it will definitely have some index. So at z of 0, this is stored at z of 0, this is z of 1, this is z of 2, z of 3 and z of 4. Okay, as it has got 5 elements, this is z of 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So if I write print z of 0, clearly it should print the 1. If I write z of print z of 1, it should print 2. So this 0 and 1 is the index. So at index 0, the 1 is stored. At index 1, 2 is stored. Similarly, if I print z of 4, which is the last element from this particular list. So here we go, the last element is 5. Now if I want to print z of 5, now clearly there is no such index. Okay, now this is 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. This is the 4th index, and after that there is no 5th index available for this list. So what will happen, whether it will be a valid statement in Python, whether it's going to throw an error or it's not going to throw error, or it's going to print some garbage value. So let's check it out. So here clearly, as this is not the index available for that list, so it is index error. So you need to understand such errors as well. So here you need to understand this is index error, and particularly it has displayed least index out of range. So whatever index you are talking about, this 5 index is out of range because the range is from 0 to 4. So we have the 4th index, the maximum index is 4, and after that there is no any index for this particular Z. Okay, so this is how the index out of range error can be displayed over here. We have also discussed indexing in strings. While we were discussing the strings, we have already discussed about the indexing, and we are also familiar that the string has got negative indexing as well. So when I talk about negative indexing, it starts from the right hand side. When I talk about the positive indexing, now this is positive indexing, so it starts from the left hand side. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3 and 4. And when I talk about the negative indexing, it always starts from the right hand side, and the very first index is -1. So this is -1, -2, -3, -4 and -5. Okay, and in case of positive index, it starts from left to right, and the first index is 0, last index is as per this thing. And when I talk about negative indexing, is always starts from the right hand side, and the first index is -1. So if I print z of -1, then what should I get? So I must get this 5, this is at the -5 index. So here we go, if I write like this, I got this 5. If I print z of -5, now what should I get here? So as per my expectations, I should get here 1, because this is -1, -2, -3, -4, and this is -5. So it should print 1. So here we go. And again, I'll try to go beyond that. So z of -6, which is not the index and it is out of range. So I should get this error, index out of range. Once again I should get that error, and here we go, the index error, list index out of range. This is what I am getting. So this is how the positive and negative indexing is done for the list. And now next important thing is that if it supports the indexing as like the string, it must support the range of indexing, okay, or range of indexes. So for example, how I can do this? So print, or I'll declare one more time the z equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then if I want to print simply z, it will print like this, the entire list it can print. If I print like this, z of, now I'll start from 1, 2, let's say 4. Now instead of giving single index, I am giving range from 1 to 4. And we have studied this thing in for loop as well, and also in terms of string as well. So this first thing is included, but the second index is not included while printing. Now as far as this is concerned, now this starts from 0 and at index 1 there is 2, so it should print 2. Then this is at the index 2, so it will print 3. Again this is the 4, which is at index 3, and this is at index for 5. So it will not include this thing 5. So it should print from 2, 3 and 4. Only this thing should be printed by this expression. Why? Because at the first index, at index 1 there is 2, at index 4 there is 5, but this is the second index is always not included when I discuss about the range of index, and whenever I have discussed the for loop and strings, we have studied this thing already, and we are already known to this that the second index is not included. So what we are expecting? 2, 3, 4. So let's check it. Here we go, we are getting 2, 3 and 4. So this is how we can provide some range of index in order to get all those things. And now we'll check if I miss to write the first index and if I write the last index. Let's say I write here 5. Now this is also an interesting thing. So as we know that this thing, if we do not write this first index, it will automatically take the very first value, so it will start from 0, and the final index is 5. Now clearly this 5 is out of range. So the last index is 4, the 5 is out of range, but as this 5 is not included, so it will print all the elements from 1 to 5. So in this case there is no problem with this thing. If I miss the second index, for example, I have this first index as 0 and I do not write the second index, what will happen? So in this case it will start from 0 and go up to the end index. If you do not write this index, it will go up to the end. What if I miss both the index? So this is Z, and I have missed the first index as well as the second index. I have written like this only, and if I have to print this, what I'll get? So if you miss first and last index, then also you will get all these values, or whatever you need, you will get everything. Okay, now this is how the indexing works, and this is the similar case as that of the for loop and the string. Now if I provide the third parameter, which is the step size, what will happen? For example, it starts from the 0, goes up to the 5, that means considers all the values, and this time the step size is 2. So what will happen? So in this case it will jump by 2. For example, it will print this 1, after that it will take a jump of 2, and then it will print 3, after that it will take jump of 2, and it will print 5. So this is what I'm expecting, that it should print 1, 3 and 5, and here we go, 1, 3 and 5. So this is how this step size can matter, and you can give any step size as well. Here you can give 4, 5 or any other step size we want in order to do this. Now If this is all about for the positive indexing, now I am giving the positive values of index from 0 to the final value, and I am also talking about the negative indexing. So this is how it has got some negative indexing as well. So can be it's the possibility that we can give some negative index range. Yes, definitely you can give some range of negative index as well. And here this is how we can write, for example, z of, if I write -4 to -1, so what will happen, it will increment by 1. So by default the increment is 1. Okay, I'm not touching this parameter, I'm not writing anything here. And if I do like this, so it will be 2, 3 and 4, because at -4 this is at -1, -2, -3, and this is -4. So at -4 it is 2 will be printed. After that this -4 will be incremented by 1. So -4 plus 1, that becomes -3. So -3 is this thing, 3. So that will be printed. After that this -3 will be incremented by 1, because default step size is +1, not the -1. Even if you are providing negative indexing here, the default step size is always +1 and not the -1. So if you have to give some negative indexing, and this is how you can increment, and even you can have this kind of thing in negative indexing as well, you can provide the different step size as well. Now we'll discuss one more important thing, how I can reverse this string. So in order to reverse the string, simply you have to do z of and keep first index blank, second index also blank, and third index -1. This will reverse your least. Okay, we have already discussed thing in terms of the string, that we can reverse the string like this, and the similar principles are also applicable in reversing the string as well. Now we have tested three different properties of our list. The number one property, that the list is allowing, or at least allows the duplicate elements, that we have tested that it allows duplicate members. Second important property you have tested, that is the list is ordered. What do you mean by the order? That means the list follows a particular order. If same number of elements are stored in different list having different order, in that case both the lists are not identical, they are different, totally different. We have tested this thing with A and B, where A we have stored 1 to 3, and in B we have stored 1 to 3 but in different order, like 3 to 1, and in that case A is not equal to B. A is strictly not equal to B. Now we'll discuss, is it possible to change the value in a list? Now let's say if I have a list like z equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and as far as the definition is concerned, the list is changeable. We can change a particular element from that list. For example, if I have to change z of 0 equals to 0, now if I assign this thing, now what is z of 0? This value is z of 0. Now initially the z of 0 is 1. Okay, and now I'm assigning this value to it. Now before that, let me print this thing. Firstly, let us print things so that you will understand that initially the content of z, what was the content of z. So here the content of z is 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. This is the initial content of z. And now if I do like this, z of 0 equals to, let's say, 6. Now this is the value that I wish to store instead of this 1. So I'm going to replace the value of 1 by this thing. So this index 0 is nothing but this thing, the 1, and now I'm going to store this 6 as a value at this particular location. So here we go, it has accepted this thing, it has allowed to assign some value to at this particular point, and this time if I print this z, you will get completely different thing. Now here initial value was 1, now it has become 6. So this proves that the list elements are changeable. You can change the values stored in a list, and a particular element can be changed, or it can be possible to change the element. So this proves that the list is changeable. We have proved that list allows the duplicate elements. We have proved that list is ordered and indexed, and now we have proved the last property and final property of least, that is the least is changeable. We can change the value of particular element. Now this is one thing, that in terms of changeability, the one parameter is you must be able to change the value of particular element inside the list, and secondly you must be able to add some external values or additional values inside the list, and you must be able to delete some values from that list. So that will also discuss in future. Now we'll check how you can have a for loop, or how we can have a looping structure over this list. So one more time I'll declare a list like this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now this is my list, and if I put a for loop for x in z, so simply you have to write like this and print x. So here we go. So this is how I am taking this list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I want to tackle each and every single element from this list, and for that I am using the for loop. The for x is a counter variable or variable for this for loop in z. Now z is this list, so this will iterate over this list, and now it's going to print x. Now x is going to be the every single element from this list. So let's check this. If I hit enter here, so I'm getting 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. So all the elements of this particular list can be accessed using the for loop as well. So by using some indexing, you can access those elements, and even by using this thing or by using this kind of structure, you can access every single element from this list. And this is how you can apply some for loop. Now secondly, one of the important things is that the problem of searching. If I have a list and in which I have to search some element, for example whether a particular value is present inside the list or not, that I have to check. Now in case of other programming languages such as C language or Java, you will have to write a lengthy code. You'll have to write some for loops that you have to iterate over that particular list, or otherwise, for example, let's take a very simple example. I want to find whether this element 3 is present inside the list or not. So in case of other programming languages, you will have to do like this: for x in z. You'll have to write some for loop, and then you have to check if x equals to 3. If this is true, then you can print here, print found. Let's say it's found. So this is how you will have to write if you are talking about this thing. And now it's found, okay, because x is there, so it is found. Now it's printing. So in case of other programming languages like C, you will have to do these things, and of course there is the for loop will be much more complicated than this in other programming languages, but in Python, as we are using Python, so this is one method that other programming languages like C you have to do like this. But as this is Python, you need not to worry about it. You can simply check with a single line, okay, and this is very much simple thing that it will show whether true or false kind of result. For example, 3 in z, it's simply you just write like this and it will show true. For example, I want to check whether 7 is present in z or not. So if you enter here false, bracket 7 is not in z. So in Python, this is how you will write to check whether this particular element is present inside the list or not. A simple in operator, in and not in operator. So as this 3 is present inside z, so it will give true, and as the 7 is not present inside the list because this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 3 is there but 7 is not there, so it is showing false. So in Python, it's becoming very much simple and straightforward to find a particular number or particular element value inside the list. So this is how you can check whether something is there inside the list or not. Now next important thing, whenever you declare arrays in other programming languages like C, you calculate the length of array by using some for loops and counter variables and so on. Here, if you have to find the length of array, it's very much simple. By using a length function, you can calculate the length of this list. For example, you have this list z equals to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and I want to check how many elements are there inside the list, or I want to count the number of elements inside the list. Now it's very simple and straightforward. You just write length of, okay, I just printing this so that I'll get the result, length of z, and that's all. And if you hit enter, you'll get 5, that there are 5 number of elements, 1 2 3 4 and 5. These are 5 elements which are there inside this particular list. Okay, so this is how you can find out some number of elements present inside the list, or you can count the number of elements inside this list. Now one more important thing that we must discuss here. Now whenever I have discussed about the list, I have said that it is changeable. Now the number of elements inside the list can be changed. Now by the word changeable, I mean, number one, the particular element value. We must be able to change the value of particular element, and that we have tested, that we were able to change the value at index 0. Initially it was 1 and we changed it to 6. Now this is allowed, and that proves that this is changeable. Now second important thing is that we must be able to add some extra element inside the list. So that means if it is 1 2 3 4 5, now I must be able to add some another value inside this. So let's say I want to add a 6 as an additional element inside that. So is it possible? So yes, it is possible using append method. So if you write like z dot append, and you have to just specify the value. So let's say 6, I have to append 6. As it is append, it will always add at the end, and if I hit enter here, no problems. And if I print now, instead of 1 2 3 4 and 5, I'll get 1 2 3 4 5 and 6, because now the 6 is added additionally to this. So this is how append method. Now this is changeable. Now if you print the length of this thing, length of z, you'll clearly understand that this is 6. Now initially it was 5, there was only 5 elements, now it is 6. So this is how you can add now additional element, one extra element inside this particular list. Now one more important thing is that now whatever method we have discussed right now is the append method, and it always adds the extra element at the end. So it always adds at the end, and now it will create a new index at this particular element. Is it possible to add a particular value at particular index, at given index? So yes, it is possible, but in that case you have to use the insert method instead of the append method. So if you write z dot insert, then you have to specify the index. For example, I have to add at second index. Now what is second index? Now this is index 0, it is index 1, and this will be index second. So at this particular index, I have to add an additional value like 7. So will it be possible for me to insert this particular value at that particular index? So here we go, and if I print now, print z, so here it is. Now as it is insert, it's not going to delete the previous value, this thing, because in case of value changing we have discussed of z of 2 is equal to the 7, but this time this is index and this is value. So this is 0 1 and 2, this is second index. Now at the second index I have inserted 7, and as I have inserted 7 at index 2, automatically the next index are shifted towards right. So this is at index 3 now. Initially it was at index 2, but this time now it is at index 3, because it's 0 1 2 and 3, and all the subsequent indexes are shifted towards the right by 1 because of this insertion. So this is how we can prove that we can add an extra element inside the list, and this is quite interesting, and this is how the list is changeable. Now this is fine that we can add extra element at particular index, even you can add extra element at the end, and even you can change the value of particular element from that list. Is it possible to delete a particular value or particular element from the list so that the list will be 100% changeable, and we can say that very confidently that list is completely changeable and 100% changeable. Yes, it is possible, and for that there is a method called remove. So if you write z.remove, for example, I want to remove this 7, so you just have to specify this thing. Okay, now 7. So in this case, this is not the index. Okay, clearly in case of append function or append method, you are using, this is not the index, this is the value which is going to be added inside this list. When I talk about insert, this 2 is the index and this 7 is the value. And when I call this remove method, this remove, this is the index, sorry, not the index, this is the value. Okay, the 7 is the value, not the index, and this will remove element 7. This value will be removed. Okay, so let's hit enter, and here we go. If I print this thing, here you can notice the difference. Now this 7 has been deleted. Now this is how we can delete a particular element from the list. Now there is one more method to delete an element or remove a particular element from the list, and that is pop method. So here we'll discuss how we can use the z.pop, and here we go. If I call this method like this, the pop method, and if I hit enter, it will always remove the last element from the list. Okay, so whenever I'll call this pop method, and it has displayed that the element which it has removed. So always whenever you call the pop method, it will always remove the last element from the list. And now if you print this thing, you will get the different result. Okay, so if I print like this, here we go, 1 2 3 4 and 5, the last element 6 is now removed. So here it was 1 2 3 4 5 and 6, but this time as I have called this pop, it has removed the last element. If I call pop method one more time, this time it will remove 5, and here we go, it has removed the 5. And if I print this thing, print z, you will get the clear-cut difference here, 1 2 3 4 only, not the 5. Now 5 has been removed. Now you will say just like in addition, whenever you added an extra element inside the list, so you use append function in order to add at the end, and you use the insert function or insert method in order to add it at particular location. Is it possible to delete or remove a particular element from particular index? Now I'm not talking about the value, I'm talking about the index. For example, this is at index 1, this is 0, this is 1, this is 2, and this is 3. So I have to remove this thing, I have to delete this thing. Is it possible? Yes, it is possible using the same pop method, z.pop, and here you have to specify the index. Now index is 1. Now this time this is index. Initially we called the pop function without an index, so it removed the last thing. But whenever I'll provide an index inside the pop method, so this is at index 0, this is at index 1, so it should remove the value 2, and here we go, it has removed 2. And if you have to verify this thing, you can simply print this thing, and 1 3 4, the 2 is removed. So this is how it is possible to remove a particular element at particular index from the list. Okay, now there is one more method or one more function that can be used to delete a particular element from the list. Now as we have, there's only 3 elements in the list, so if I have to remove, now this is at index 1, oh, this is at index 0, this is at index 1, and this is at index 2. So you can use even delete function as well, delete, and what you have to delete, the z, this is our list which I have to delete, z of, I want to delete the 1, the index 1. Always whenever I am using this rectangular brackets, always remember that this is going to be an index. So if I can delete this thing using delete function, and this is at index 1, so this is the element which is going to be a victim of this operation, and this will be deleted. So let's hit enter and check it, and if I print the z, you will get only 2 elements inside that, 1 and 4 at index 1, which was 3. Now it is being the victim of this operation, and now it is no longer available, now it is lost or it is deleted. Now, one more thing, is it possible to delete the entire list? Yes, it is possible, and you can free of that memory location, or you can completely delete that variable by using delete z. It will completely delete the list, and if you print now z, now here is the big problem. Name z is not defined. Why? Because it has been deleted now. It is deleted by this delete function, and now if you try to print the z, now the name error z is not defined because this variable is completely deleted and the memory location allocated to that variable is now freed, or it is not available right now, so it is completely deleted. So this is how you can completely delete the list. You can delete that particular index, you can delete the particular value, you can delete the last value, you can add some value to end, and you can even add a particular value or particular element at a given index. So this is how the list is completely changeable. Now we'll discuss one more thing, how we can empty a list. For example, I have a list. This is 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. This is how I have a very good list having the 5 different elements. So now if I print this thing, you will get this clear cut idea that I am having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as the list. Now if I call this method clear, z.clear, if I call this method, what will happen? So if I print this thing z, it has completely removed all the elements from the list, but the list is not deleted like this. So in this case the list was completely deleted, but in this case only elements are deleted but the list is still there, and but now it is empty list. Now this time it is empty list. So clear function is simply going to clear everything inside that list and the list will be empty after that. So this is how we can call this clear method to clear all the elements from the list. Now let's discuss one more important thing, how we can copy the element stored in the list to any other list. For example, I have a list called A and I have these elements 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. And if I write like this, B equals to A, what you are expecting? Are you expecting that the whatever data is there inside the A will be copied into B? This is what you are expecting. If I write like this, what will happen? Whatever stored in the A will be copied to B. This is what you are expecting. Okay, it's very much obvious that you may be expecting the same thing, and if I hit enter, now there is no problem, no error. So now the confidence may have increased that it has copied the content from A to B. Now let's check by printing the B. Now if I print B and if I hit enter, now even your confidence will be increased now that it has copied successfully from A to B. But let's do some experimentation. A dot, let's say I just append, okay, oh sorry, A dot append, and I add another value 6. Now I have added an extra value in A, so clearly if I print A, you will get this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. No doubt, it's no worries about it. It's totally fine. Okay, it's perfect. If I print B, what you are expecting? You should expect this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 only, not this thing, because we haven't made any changes in the B. We have simply copied this this thing into B. After that we haven't touched to B. But what happens here? Again the B has changed. Now here there is a what you can say that initially we were talking about by simply writing B equal to A. Now it will copy all the contents from A to B, and we have tested like printing B also gives the same result as that of A. Now we are very much confident that it has successfully copied A to B. But unfortunately if I add something in A, it is automatically getting added in B. This is what I am not expecting, and here I am now doubtful that this operation has not copied anything, or it has not copied the content from A to B. Rather it has giving a reference to this memory location. So this means A and B both are referring to same memory location. If I make changes into A, automatically the changes are getting reflected in B, and even if I make changes in B, the changes will be reflected in A. So that's how the A and B are referring to same memory location and the data is not getting copied. So what is the way out? So this is not the proper way of copying. So there is a method in order to copy this. For example, the A equals to, I'll declare one more list, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And here if I have to copy the content from A to B, so here you just write B equals to A dot copy. This is the proper way of copying data from A to B. So if you write like this, it will copy all the contents from the A to the list B. And if you hit enter here, now you will get all the contents from A to B. And if you print here B, here we go, you have this thing. And if you A dot append, let's say we do the same thing, and if you print this thing, print A, yeah, as usual I'm expecting here, if I write like this, print A, then definitely I'm expecting that it should print 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6, because I have added 6 here. Now if we hit enter, it is happening as per my expectation. Now what about this B? Now here we go. Now B is still 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is how the proper way of copying can work. So in this, the previous case was not the correct approach. This is the correct approach of copying data from A to B. So you can use the copy method of string, of the list, and this is also applicable for string and other data structures as well. But this is how you can copy. You just have to call the copy method in Python in order to copy from one list to another list. So this is the proper way of copying the data. Now one more thing that we are going to discuss, that how we can join two different lists. For example, I have one list called 1, 2, 3. This is my one list, and I have another list called B equals to 4, 5, 6. And I have to join these two lists together so that the third list will be A, B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I need that kind of list. So how I can do this? So simply if you write C equals to append operator A plus B. So please note that this is not the addition operator. Okay, so when I talk about the list, tuple and any other data structures or even the string, this operator is not the addition operator. If you are expecting that it will have addition of this thing and this 1 plus 4 will be 5 and then 7 and then 9, this is what you are expecting. So this is not happening here. It is the append or the concatenation operator or joining operator. It's going to join two lists together. And here we go. If I print here C, so don't expect that it will give 5, 7 and 9. It will give the joining of two lists, and here we go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it has joined these two. So this is how you can join two different lists together. Okay, so this is how this is very much important thing in case of list. If you have to join two different lists, simply use the plus operator or the concatenation operator. Now up till now we are talking about this thing dot copy, dot append, and even dot insert, dot pop, and I am multiple time I am using a one simple term method. I am calling copy method, append method, insert method. So what is that? This is something related to object oriented programming. Okay, and as the Python is object oriented programming language, so this method is the term which is something related to object oriented programming style. So we are going to discuss that thing in future, what is object oriented programming language. Not now, but in future, what is object oriented programming style of programming, and there we'll understand what is method. For this moment, just understand the method means some function. We are calling some functions to do some task. Okay, just for this moment, for now, just understand the method means calling something, and every method will be called by this dot operator. So a dot copy, now this copy is a method which is getting called and doing some task for us. So for now, just understand this method means some function which we are calling, and that function is doing our job. Now even we haven't discussed functions, but at least in other programming languages you must have seen the function. Now this is function. So this method or function is nothing but some code, some piece of code which somebody else has written for us, and we are just calling that, we are just making a call to that. So the code for copy, this is the function or some small code which is stored in the copy function or in copy method, and we are just calling that file, or we are just calling that method or function, and it is doing some task for us. Okay, so this is how we have tested that the list is ordered, it is indexed, it is changeable, and it allows the duplicate members inside it. And also there are we have discussed some limited list methods, but there are a number of list methods like append, clear, copy, count, extend, index, insert, pop, remove, reverse, sort. These are a number of list methods. So even the sort method can actually sort the elements from the list in ascending or in descending order. Even the reverse method can reverses the order of your list. So there are lots of methods that you can study for the list, but now we are just talking about some important methods that we must understand for the list, and we have understood everything about the list, and at least I hope that you have get the clear-cut idea about the Python data structures and these collection data types in Python, and we have discussed list today. In the future lectures or in the next lecture, we are going to discuss about the tuple, which is another important data type in Python, which is again going to store the multiple values, but not in the square bracket. This time that is going to store in the rounded bracket, and most of the properties like ordered, indexing is similar to as that of list. And secondly, the duplicate members are also allowed inside the tuple, but there is only one difference, that the tuple elements cannot be changed and it is not changeable. So that we'll see in the upcoming lecture. So stay connected with me, and thanks for watching.